What's up, chess player, and welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster, the place where you can improve every aspect of your chess game. Today I want to talk to you about tactics. I mean, chess is 99% of tactics and 1% of strategy. This 1% is nevertheless incredibly important, but today is the game all about tactics. I mean, I have played against an incredibly strong grandmaster, one of the strongest in Africa, Ahmed Adli, and I was playing really great as black. At some point I felt that I completely outplayed him, so he sacrificed the piece and it got so sharp you can not understand what is the right move. I mean, it's just not possible to guess it, at least for me during that game. I thought that I'm just about to win it, I just need to consolidate to finish my development, but it's so difficult, and you're gonna see why it is so. So it's gonna be a huge exercise for you to develop, to booster your tactical abilities, so stay with me and let's go on. So I played this d6 setup, the old Indian defense, which I really like, and especially in the rapid chess and blitz chess as well. It's so great to play the opening you understand the most, so that is why I played that one. And here d5 happened, not really one of the main moves because it makes it simpler for me. Like here, white is also have an option to take, or maybe just to leave the pawn there, because the pawn is very good, and for me it's not that great to take it. So you can continue with rook e1, just developing the pieces and just having this pressure with the d4 pawn. But if you play d5, you're making it simpler for your opponent, because now I have the c5 square to go. I'm no longer afraid that at some point this pawn can be taken, so my knight can go. Yeah, I have some additional opportunities. The knight on c5 is, of course, one of the main ideas you can think of here. And then it's very, very important to play a5 to stop the move b4. Yes, you can exchange the pawn on d5 first, as the engine suggests, but I didn't want to do that because I thought, well, that chance I have forever, basically. If my opponent takes it, then I'm not having any problem with that, because then it's simpler for me. He doesn't really have that many pawns, that many pressure in the center, so I wasn't afraid of that. Bishop e3 has happened, queen to c7. Once again, the engine insists on taking on d5, but if you look at the queen on c7, the pawn on c6 is controlling all of those squares, so the knight cannot jump here and attack the queen. I thought, well, that's good for me. Rook f8. Now I understood that the center is closed, so I need to establish some attack on the queen side, so I played queen f8, preparing my plan. Rook went to d8, and now knight e8. Even though the engine says it's a mistake, I was pretty optimistic, because I'm about to play f5, about to create my counterplay, which I consider to be basically the most important thing in chess. And I don't really want to take on d5, because I said it only helps my opponent. Why would I do that? My opponent plays g4, I'm saying, you want to stop the move f5, I'm gonna do it no matter what, so I'm playing g6. So, king to h1, of course, my opponent also prepares against that, having this king on the radar. So, what am I doing? Of course, I'm pushing this king away. As the engine says, knight f6 was the best move here, which would be just a huge shock for me if somebody would tell me this move during the game, because I just went knight e8, I want to play f5, why on earth would I play knight f6 back? That is incredible, but well, you can never argue with the engine, obviously. From a human perspective, that is just an unreasonable move for me. So now, I'm playing f5, I'm finally achieving my goal. Of course I want to play f4, that would close the position. Right now I'm also attacking the pawn, so there are different opportunities, but f4 is a very interesting one, to just close the position, to open up this bishop, especially here after the exchange. That is my idea. So my opponent played bishop h6 with an idea to attack the rook and stopping this huge f4. Now the bishop won't be attacked. I played here rook to g8, which is a miss according to chess.com. Let's see why. He says here knight takes e4 is a great opportunity. Once again, you could already see that it's getting tactical. And the problem is, how do you find the best move in such a position? Let's try to understand it together. Your opponent plays bishop h6, and now your rook is under attack. But your first thought should not be like, oh my god, the rook is under attack, I have to do something about it, otherwise I'll lose it. No. You never think that way. The right way to think about it is to always start with the most active opportunities, which are checks, captures, and threats. that is the recipe to find the best move in every possible chess position. It doesn't matter whether your rook is under attack, your queen is under attack, or your opponent has created a threat of checkmate in one. Maybe you have checkmate in one. So before thinking about defensive resources, always think actively. So knight takes e4 is one of the two possible, no, even three possible captures here. I can capture this pawn both with the knight and the pawn, and I can also capture this pawn, but that I feel immediately is a very, very bad idea, allowing knight takes d5 with a tempo. So taking here would attack the knight, taking here would attack the queen. Let's see why it's so great. Because after it takes, well, you can take here on e4, but then taking on f8, I'm taking on f3, attacking another bishop, and I'm just winning too many pieces here. That is not great. And if you play queen e3, then basically I have one pawn here on e4. And I can continue grabbing some pieces. I can take on c3, you can take here on f8, but now knight takes with a tempo. Once again, I'm too much material up. Somehow during the game I thought that is too risky, I don't want to go for it, it's rapid chess. Let me just move my rook to g8. The rook is very active, and all of the threats are still there. But the problem is that sometimes you really just miss those golden opportunities, and if you are playing against very strong grandmasters, as I did in this case, you don't get such opportunities too often. So let's see what happened next. Knight takes e4 was just a huge move, but well, it's some sort of sacrifice. You need to be ready to do that. My opponent plays rook g1, also preparing this rook to be active here. And now I can take on e4, but he doesn't have any problems with that because the knight will go away. After the exchange, he will take it with the bishop back, and then all of his pieces are active. So what I did instead is f4, and you could see this time that's the best move. I really wanted to do that more than anything else in this position, because look at this bishop. It's completely trapped. I may even attack it afterwards. And the most important thing, I want to consolidate. I want to make sure the position is closed. I have here a perfect pawn chain. The knight is still attacking this pawn, and all I need is to finish the development somehow. But it was far away from what happened here, because first my opponent plays h4. By the way, according to the engine, the position is completely winning. It's +3 for black, and basically +3 is like having an extra piece, in which case you can just resign. But here the material is equal. So what the evaluation +3 means, even +3.7 the engine says now, it means that I have a huge initiative, and the threats in a few moves, if you play the right moves, are just too strong to handle. But the problem is, good luck trying to realize what is the best move. And here, the first step, I did correctly. I played rook g6. Not such a difficult move, you would say, and I would completely agree with you, because, like I said, the bishop is in trouble. But my opponent plays bishop g5, and here is much more complicated to find the best move. I thought, I'm completely fine with exchanging the bishops, but I want to do it on my terms. So I have played the move h6. All I want is to my opponent to take it on e7, then I'm taking it back. This pawn is in huge trouble. I even am willing to sacrifice an exchange here in the right moment and then just checkmate my opponent. But the problem is, the thing that I missed here is my opponent didn't want to take on e7. He wanted to take on f4, and now an incredible position arises afterwards. So the right thing was to exchange the bishop on my own, and then just attack this pawn. So I was anticipating pawn takes, but now queen takes, and I still kind of really want to take this, because the king is still in trouble. And otherwise, the position is rock solid for me. This queen is completely shut down. He can't do anything, basically. The knight can go because the pawn is hanging. I can also just play h6 without sacrificing anything, just attacking this pawn and either take it or exchange it, and the king is once again in huge trouble. Also, this bishop is great. I mean, all I needed to do is to take it. And if knight takes, which is of course also possible, then this rook is free to go to h6, and once again the h4 pawn is trouble. So it was so near that, and I thought, well, what difference does it make? I play h6, he takes, and we have the same thing. But unfortunately, bishop takes f4, even though I'm a piece up, so I thought it cannot be bad. But good luck trying to understand what is the right idea here for black, how to stabilize, how to finish the development, how to consolidate. And I bet basically everything here to say that you're not gonna find the best move. Tell me in the comments if you can, because that is something truly amazing here. At least for me, I would never even think about this move as black. But when you see it, and when you start to think why it's so good, then you start to understand is, yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense. But during the game, I mean, no chance I would have found it. So I hope you have enough time now to find. If not, feel free to, of course, to pause the video. First of all, I'm gonna show you what I did here. I thought all I need to do is to develop all of my pieces. Once I finish my development, I bring the bishop, I bring the knight, and the second rook. I mean, he should just resign, the game is over. The problem is, it's not that easy. I played bishop g4, and that is basically a huge mistake. Now I'm having some difficulties. The right move, as you could have already seen, is queen to d7. Instead of developing the bishop, I'm closing this bishop, which in turn is closing this rook on a8. And this idea is completely counterintuitive for me. I'm always teaching you, you need to develop as many pieces as possible, as active as possible, as fast as possible. And that is absolutely true in 99% of the situation. But in this case, instead of developing, my most important thing is to stop my opponent's attack. And it turns out queen d7 is the best way to do that, because bishop h3 is never possible, so he can't really attack me. Otherwise, I want to go to g4. And if you go back, I mean, the bishop has no moves, no good moves to go. If you can just jump to c2, that would be great for white. I mean, the bishop is great, and what's very important, the rooks are connected and you really want to exchange this rook because it's a very important defender. But if you play bishop f1, then you block the connection between the rooks. And then once I take, you should either go back with the knight or take with the king, which is, of course, a dream for black because I'm just exchanging the queens and basically win the game. If you take back with the knight, well, then your attack is not that dangerous. Of course, you still have your queen, which is, yeah, very active, but otherwise, all of the pieces are backwards. And I have the time to activate my pieces. Yes, I lose a pawn, but it's not that important, just king g8, and now the pieces are very fast going forward. Everything is great for black. But of course, that was too difficult for me to understand, and also I didn't really think that a move such as bishop g4 can really be a problem, and hopefully you realized why it's so bad, because it gives my opponent this very, very important moment to create a threat and to finish the development. Because like I said, queen d7, bishop h3 is not possible. But now it is, and I completely missed that. I mean, that is so strong. Now, black is still better according to the engine, but it's very, very difficult to deal with all of the threats. I played knight d3. Seems like a very interesting move for me. And you could see that the best thing for me was to keep cold and just continue my idea, which was, of course, to develop everything. So knight f6 was the right way. And now if you take, I just take it back with the knight, controlling the pawn. And yeah, it seems like I'm just losing some pieces, but now at the right moment, this knight d3 comes. And queen goes back to e3. I even take on f2. I'm giving up my piece back, but, well, I still have an extra exchange here, and basically the attack is over, so the position is completely winning for black. And unfortunately, I did play knight d3, but I did it too early. I played it here, and the same tactical idea, but here it's just not that strong. In fact, it gives up almost the entire advantage that I still had. Because after queen e3, the strongest move I have to take, and I took it on f3, and then I played knight e5 with the tempo, but the queen just goes back, and the knight is not that stable on e5. And the main problem, I haven't still finished my development. Like, if the knight would be on f6 at this point, I guess that would be a completely different story. I would just play rook g8 and would laugh at my opponent saying, well, good luck, show me your attack, you have absolutely nothing. But now I'm just one tempo short, and chess is a strategy, one more time. Chess is a game of tragedy. Okay, forget about it. But in chess, you always have this problem of one tempo not fast enough, and I have to do something else. I took here on h4, which you can see is a blunder because now white has an initiative. I don't know what I was thinking about. Like, my dream was to go back to g5 and then everything would be perfect, but I'm just not in time to do that. My opponent plays f4 immediately. So Rook g6, I guess, wasn't such a big problem because here, if you take on h6, I have my queen to cover that. And that was my plan, and I thought everything is good here. But my opponent, well, he's a strong grandmaster after all, so he played f4 immediately, and now this knight is in trouble, and it's very difficult. I have to take on g1, but now my rook is still not participating, my knight is still on e8, and my knight is under attack, so once again, I don't have the precious time to develop, to finish my development. So I hope you learned this, a lesson from this video. The development is the most important thing. And now my king is in trouble. Bishop goes to e6. You could see that with every move, my opponent is creating those threats. I played knight g7 finally with an idea to finish it, but I'm just not in time because he's playing queen h3, creating yet another threat, and I don't have any time to take the bishop because then pawn takes, the bishop is hanging, the knight is hanging, I'm losing everything. So rook g6, yet another threat, everything is under attack. I'm forced to go back to e8, which is, yeah, probably the final mistake here. But knight e6 is, yeah, not really better, still completely losing. So e5, even though I'm still some material up, doesn't help me because it's not the amount of the materials that matters, but how active your pieces are. Like, you can see that whether I play with this rook or without doesn't really matter as long as the king is concerned because it's just getting checkmated. Bishop g7 back, queen f5. I just don't have any squares for my pieces. I played pawn takes. I wanted to at least get some initiative, but yeah, the right move was knight d8, still not really saving the game. The knight comes to e4. Yeah, I mean, I'm so passive, but still probably knight d8 was the best shot. Because now bishop takes f7, I took it on f4, and queen e6, and the second knight is trapped. I mean, I'm just losing everything here. So I played queen d6, but now just bishop takes, and it's no longer an option for me to exchange the queens because I'm a great number of material down. So here takes on d5, the knight is coming, f3. The only thing, of course, it's still rapid chess. The only option for me is to create some counterplay. So that is why I'm trying to go forward, finally activating this rook. I mean, it's better late or than never, but yeah, it's just too late. Queen b4, at least to give one check, but unfortunately I'm not in time to do that. Queen c8, and now I lost on time because, well, I was in time trouble. That is why, well, that's an additional reason why I made all of those mistakes, even though it was still very, very complicated as a position there. But here I was thinking whether I can afford bishop f8 or I have to go queen f8 back. Both are completely lost, but after bishop f8, it just checkmate in a few moves. Rook g8, king to h7, queen f5, and checkmate is coming. So I hope you enjoyed this game. That was a painful one in the end, but I was still feeling good about my play because I have completely outplayed an incredibly strong grandmaster as black in the middle game. I mean, that doesn't happen every day. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to convert it. That is something I really need to work on. So let me know in the comments what you think about this game. If you have some tips for me, I would be always happy to hear it. And in this video, you're gonna see another incredible game where I show you how I cheated in the World Chess Championship to make a draw with an incredibly strong grandmaster. It was all legal, don't worry about it, but it's gonna be very useful for you to take a look at.